Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the PlotCast. I'm your host, Nate Slater.
And I'm Chris Sandbrook, and today we're discussing superheroes.
So, folks, if you guys haven't heard, on the 20th of November, a very prestigious comic recently sold. Superman #1 in a CGC 9.0 sold for $9,120,000. That's including the buyer's premium. If you don't know what that means, this took place at Heritage Auctions. They basically charge whoever buys it a premium of, I think, 20%. So the book sold for like 7 million something, but with the buyer's premium that goes straight to the auction house, it totaled up to 9,120,000 with the tax and all that kind of stuff. So the auction house made money, and the group of people who had the book, they made their money. This is the biggest comic book sale ever. I think the one that sold closest to that, I think it sold for like 5 million, and that I think was Action 1, I believe. I'm not too sure, which is the first appearance of Superman. And so when doing this, I said to myself, first of all, who bought this book? Was it Nicolas Cage? Because he's a big fan. I believe he even named his son Kal-El because he's crazy like that. We all know Nick Cage. We all love Nick Cage, at least
Look,
some
he,
of us.
he was Superman. I mean, I know his movie never came out, but the Flash movie.
Yep, he was there. But this brought up a talking point I wanted to talk about because let's face it, folks, we all love superheroes. There's just something about them that we just can't get enough of. I mean, apparently somebody couldn't get enough of Superman. They had to spend $9,120,000 to get that book. A
Well,
little crazy if you ask me.
in all fairness, that book was the very first all single superhero book. I mean, in the past, there have been collections and strips of multiple superheroes. This was the first ever comic book that was dedicated to a single superhero. So its historical significance kind of reigns in there.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Superman over the years has kind of, I think his presence has kind of waned on audiences. I feel like he's very hard to connect with. Albeit, I will say James Gunn, I believe, did a really good job making him more complex as far as being the almighty Superman that can't really get hurt by conventional means and trying to fit into the human race, kind of making him more human, more of just issues of how do I do this and not try and feel like I am the villain to everybody else and myself. So I felt like that was kind of good. I know we had Zack Snyder's Henry Cavill Superman, which was really good. Felt very more like a Dragon Ball Z character rather than just super heart of gold with, a lot of mixed complex feelings and stuff. But that's besides the point. I'm getting way off track here. So we love superheroes. Superman was the first, superhero to kind of break the mold and get his own comic book and, you know, shatter expectations of what a superhero is. Now, this whole thing has kind of made me think about like what are some of our favorite superheroes? Who's made an impact on our lives? And also we can get to it at a certain point. What even makes a superhero? How is a superhero because they have abilities or because they don't have abilities, because they have powers? What is it? This has been a thing I've been wondering about. But first of all, I want to talk about some of our favorite superheroes and what they mean to us. Chris, I know I'm kind of like springing this out of the blue, but sometimes the best things come out of nowhere. So I'll go first. I gotta say, I have a few favorite superheroes because they range from DC and Marvel and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go with my number one superhero for DC, and I'm saying DC first because DC is actually my not least favorite, but out of Marvel and DC, I prefer Marvel better. So I'm gonna give DC a little love here and make them go first. My favorite superhero out of that, which is what brings up my second question, is Batman. Is he even a superhero? That is a big question.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the
So
grand scheme of things, he's my favorite superhero in that sense.
while you were just talking about that, I did just quickly Google superhero definition.
Okay.
And as far as a dictionary is concerned, A superhero is a benevolent fictional character with superhuman powers, such as Superman. So I guess by the definition, the direct definition, then we can't count Batman as a superhero. However, just below it, I did see that it has a Stan Lee explanation of what a superhero is.
Okay.
And according to Stan Lee, a superhero is defined by a combination of the extraordinary abilities, a strong moral compass, and a selfless use of their power to help others. Key
Hmm.
elements include having super powers or skills that are beyond human capabilities, performing heroic deeds, and a deep commitment to justice and making the world a better place, even in the face of personal challenges.
Well, we know Batman definitely has a thing for justice, but
Yeah.
he
And he
definitely
has something of a strong moral compass. I mean, he
yes,
refuses to kill anyone, at
yeah,
least in the majority of his iterations.
yes.
Um,
I mean, he is pretty selfless. I mean, he's pretty much dedicates his whole life to just fighting crime. You know, Bruce Wayne is his alter ego. That's his mask. That's his real mask. Bruce Wayne's parents passing away just did something to him to where it made him want to try and make the world a better place so they don't have to deal with what he had to go through. But that's still, even that Stanley explanation there, it kind of still gears more towards somebody who has powers almost.
it does, and it also depends on when he said it, and I'm sure his kind of views have changed as his career progressed. Um, but yeah, DC has quite a lot of non-powered heroes in general.
Hmm.
Um, One of my favorites for DC, actually, I guess he is my favorite for DC and should be making a comeback. And he's been a constant um, favorite of mine for quite some time, mainly because he's British. I will go with John Constantine. John
Oh,
Constantine, the Hellblazer, the working class magician, occult detective, the golden tongued con man. Yes, he's my favorite for a lot of reasons. One, yes, he uses magic, and depending on which comic you're reading, it's because he's a magician or because he's using things with magical properties. But um, I mean, a lot of people would consider him an anti-hero, but one of my favorite parts about his comics is that he has he has the biggest distance between, as far as strength and power, between him and his arch nemesis, Lucifer.
yeah.
So I feel like a hero like that is, I mean, first of all, if you're going up, if the devil is the one that's getting in your way, you're always going to be the hero.
Yeah, well, you do have a point there. That
But
makes a lot of
yeah,
sense.
for DC, that he's always been my favorite. And I'm glad that there are talks, at least, of him returning and coming back.
And when you say that, you're talking about Keanu Reeves's
Yes.
rendition. I saw the movie, like, I think 10 years ago for the first time. It wasn't bad, but it was definitely I saw it a little too late, I believe.
Yeah.
But I do hope Keanu gets his wish. Maybe if even if he doesn't, if they end up incorporated him maybe as an older John Constantine in the new DCU, that would be pretty cool, but I doubt that will happen.
Yeah. Who knows? Either way, just seeing him work, doing his magic, literally, um, is something that's always fun to watch. So I can't wait,
Well, if
no
I
matter
had to
what we get.
actually pick, like, a superhero in DC, I'd probably even though I just talked about him, I'd say Superman because he was really and when I was growing up, the only other superhero that I really knew the most about from DC. I used to watch, like, the old 1930s cartoons at my grandfather's and, along with watching the 1960s Batman, but Superman would probably be my number 1 superhero for DC, even though I think he's a little bland. But, how do you kill a god? I guess that's the best way you say it, but Uh,
Yeah.
that's as far as DC goes. My top two would be Batman, Superman in that order, but still questionable. Batman superhero. Let us know what you guys think. But
Yeah,
eh,
absolutely. So I'm assuming that we're gonna hit Marvel next.
yes, because Marvel, I have one big one from Marvel, and
I have one big one. In fact, he is the only one. And if yours isn't him, then well, you lose because Wade Wilson is the best superhero. And I know what you're thinking. He's an anti-hero.
yeah,
Look, when you live forever, there's going to be a dark side to everything. If you've been stabbed as much as he has, if you've been decapitated, blown up as much as he has, um, yeah, yeah, you'll be a little kooky too.
I mean, I like Deadpool. I like Deadpool mainly because before Ryan Reynolds was Deadpool, I didn't know too much about him, but Ryan Reynolds did make me look more into the character and stuff. But Ryan Reynolds' rendition of the character, that's the only version that I know. I love that character, but for me, he's because I don't know anything outside of that before I fell in love with like the other characters I'm about to mention. To me, he's just comic book character. Don't really know much. Movie character, love him, but he's not in my top.
In the comics, I will say he's a lot more serious when it comes to his goals, whether it be his missions or whatever is going on. Um, his jokes are usually internal or for making fun of whoever he is talking to. Um, but I mean, he's the merc with the mouth. He
Yeah.
always has something to say right before he cuts people to pieces, and that's just fun.
I mean, I know he's one of those characters that are known for breaking the fourth wall, and I do know that a lot of people will be like, "Oh, he's the first one to do it." I
No,
think
it was She-Hulk. Yeah.
She-Hulk, yeah, was the first one, so I wanted to make that known out there for those that don't know. She-Hulk was kind of the first, but Deadpool is the one who really ran with it. So kudos to She-Hulk for starting it, making Deadpool even more popular by opening the door for him. Uh,
Deadpool, by the way, was merely a, I don't want to say ripoff, but more of a joke character that was
yeah,
designed to be kind of like an offshoot Spider-Man, a silly little whatever, but became very popular. They loved what they had, created with him, and he became his own thing.
yeah, I know Rob Liefeld when he took over New Mutants when he made him. He didn't think he was gonna blow up the way he did, and I know he's happy now because Deadpool's made him a lot of money. Not necessarily happy with Disney, but it's made him a lot of money.
Yeah, regardless, yeah.
Yeah, but I, I like I said, I respect your decision for putting Deadpool, but because I didn't kind of grow up with him the way you did, I can't really put him in my top. But Spider Man, you mentioned him kind of like as a mockery character with Deadpool there. Even though also Deadpool tip kind of also rip off of Deathstroke,
Yeah.
Slade Wilson. So just throwing that out there. But Spider Man is my number one superhero for Marvel. In fact, he's my number one superhero overall through any publisher. Grew up on Spider Man. Didn't read too many comics when I was little, even though I had a few. But the '90s cartoon show, even like I think it was '70s cartoon show, Spider Man and his amazing friends with Firestar and Iceman. I grew up on that. Loved it. Spider Man's always been my favorite, especially Black Suit Spider Man from the '90s cartoon show. That's what introduced me to Venom, which kind of goes into my like third one, but I'll get to that. But Spider Man, he's always kind of been the everyman character. He's, in my opinion, the most relatable character because I don't know, maybe Stan Lee might have modeled him kind of after himself, just kind of like dealing with all these life troubles and stuff. Not necessarily saying Stan Lee went through all that, but kind of just maybe he reflected on his own life and being like, well, what would have happened to me and what happened to me? What could have happened to me? Just kind of throwing those out there. And just, Peter, he lost his uncle, which is something that some people go through. Who's a family member, yes, it happened to Batman, but
Wait, it happened to Batman?
yeah, he lost a family member. He lost two. Well, in fact, Peter lost more than just that. But Uncle Ben, that was his mentor. That was the one he looked up to the most, and his death is what essentially made Spider-Man a big thing in Peter's life and made him the hero he is. But the best part I like about Spider-Man is he's the hero that is actually trying to balance his hero life with his normal life. And usually by doing it, he sacrifices his normal everyday life for the hero life because he really doesn't want people to go through what he had to go through, the trauma. He wants to save who he can so they can have a better life than him, which I like that. I like that. I don't like that he has to sacrifice his life because that kind of sucks, sacrificing, being a normal teenager. But it just, I don't know. It just makes me feel like this man is he's a role model. That's the best way I can say it. I look up to him because of the sacrifice he's had to make in his life to try and help others. He's very selfless.
No, that's fair. And yeah, that's a kind of a good encapsulation of Spider-Man. Obviously, as he grows older, there
Yeah.
becomes even bigger issues that he has to deal with. More people become that are close to him become known of who he is and what he does, and that puts them in danger, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, he is very complex. It gets more complex the deeper it goes, and um, honestly, as good as the most recent Spider-Man movie was, how it ends kind of takes away from that. You
Yeah.
know, I know that it was largely down to the Sony and Disney relationship, but it sucks that we've spent all these movies building up this character only to have everyone forget him by the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah. I mean, I get why they did it because now, we got rid of a lot of these other things that could help Spider-Man, but also it does suck. Like I'm thinking about it. It
Yeah,
sucks
it's
because like he has all
all
this
that
stuff that could
character
help him.
development, like, while that still is character development for himself internally, because obviously
Yeah.
he did not forget. Um, Everyone else forgetting who he is, it takes away from the character. Now he could just disappear and nothing will happen.
But
No one will know any different.
here's the thing though. This is kind of gonna be like his dilemma because now I'm thinking about it. It actually works because now he's stripped of everything, which also brings you back to that thing where like it's almost like he lost Uncle Ben, even though he lost Aunt May in the movie. But now he has to build himself up from the ground up, and now he
Well,
has
let's not
no help.
forget his real Uncle Ben was Tony Stark.
True.
And that was a huge moment. Let's not forget, a whole portion of the movies wasn't necessarily just in the Spider-Man movies. It was also in, the other ones that he, partook in.
Yeah.
Uh, but it was always Tony related.
Yeah.
And we saw that relationship build. And now with Tony being dead, obviously that doesn't change anything for Tony. It is, you know, also something for the world. Like, I mean, we had, press releases and stuff like that where Tony is. I mean, how do people just forget when there's recorded evidence? You know,
Well,
it's
I
so
mean,
insane.
I think the spell kind of changes things. It's a
Yeah.
spell, it's magic. There's the answer right there. It's magic, whatever. Somehow it's fixed by magic. We don't have to dive too deep into
Oh,
this.
that is the worst cop out ever. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, this is an ongoing argument, I'm sure, for Spider-Man fans. But we're gonna jump away from that because too much talk of Spider-Man is only gonna turn this into a rant than a podcast.
But
So
no, I gotta finish it because you started this. I gotta finish my point. My point is, sorry, folks, rant is still going. Um, the reason why I feel like it's a good thing is because now we have Spider-Man back to where he essentially technically would be at his beginning. He's starting over. He has to do everything himself, which
sure.
is essentially how Spider-Man kind of did it. He made his own web shooters, he
Right.
made his suits, he made his relationships without the help of other people. He had to be that awkward kid. Now, yeah, granted, he's probably in this movie in his early 20s, even though Tom Holland's, I think, 30 now. but, we're getting that Spider-Man that everybody kinda grew up with now. So, I'm looking forward to
So,
that.
yeah. My next question though is, since the initial wish was affected, the beginning of the movie also affected other Spider-Men, does
Hmm.
that mean that his wish at the end of the movie, where everyone forgets, also affects other Spider-Man?
I doubt it. That's too much. You're asking too much.
I'm
It
just
probably
saying, I'm going based on the rules they provided for us in the movie.
You know what? It's magic, and that magic could only pertain to
Oh
that
my
reality. Who
gosh.
knows? And
Well,
what?
that's not true, because the beginning of the movie, the first wish, is what affected the other Spider-Man in other realities.
I know, but we're gonna leave it there. Well, we'll leave that for when the next movie comes out, and then we can really have this conversation. Mark your
Right?
calendars, folks. When that Spider-Man movie comes out, we will come back to this conversation. So, uh, I have 2 other characters for Marvel. Do you have any others?
I mean, sure, I've got plenty, I guess, technically, from Marvel. Um, wow, Marvel. Wait, do you wanna just roll over yours real quick while I
Yes,
have a quick
so
thought?
my number 2 has to go to, Weapon X himself, Logan, the Wolverine. I grew up once again in the 90s with X-Men, the cartoon show, and yeah, I even watched like there was another X-Men cartoon that probably came out in the late 70s, early 80s too that I saw. And Wolverine was always that cool character. He didn't give a fuck. And I like that about him. I like that, he wasn't scared. He had the regenerative powers. He has that charisma too. Like I just like him. Definitely the most badass character on the X-Men. I mean, there'd probably be somebody else on the X-Men that they love more, but Wolverine to me, he was always that guy because he was the guy that could get away with whatever because he can regenerate. He had the adamantium skeleton, so he could take a beating and regenerate, and he didn't care. He pretty much hated life, I think, just because of the fact he couldn't die.
You know what? My next pick is also gonna be an X-Man, and one
Okay.
that Wolverine doesn't quite fully respect, and I'm gonna go with Gambit.
Oh, never mind. I was thinking
Yeah.
Cyclops.
I know you were thinking Cyclops, and honestly, there's a bit of a difference with Cyclops, by the way,
Yeah.
versus comics and
Mhm.
movies. Movies was very love story oriented for Cyclops, which it takes away from his character
I
so
mean,
much.
that was still a thing, but
It
I
was, but
yeah.
it wasn't his entire personality.
And
Come
speaking
on.
about movies, Hugh Jackman, perfect Wolverine. Sucks when they finally get rid of him, but anyway.
Um, but yeah, Gambit. I mean, his powers were great. I mean, he creates a momentous charge and puts it into items or people or things in general. He's one of those few characters that, as time went on, he got so overpowered that he was next level god tier as far as his powers were concerned, that he was like, nah, this is too much for me. And went out of his way to nerf his own power. So
Aw.
yeah, I know. Well, he's a chill dude. And
Yeah.
he wants to be able to have beer with the guys and not have to worry about them going, you're not just gonna like make us explode and shoot through the sky or something, are
I
you?
mean, at least he can actually have control over his powers, where Cyclops, if he's not wearing that visor, good luck. His eyes better be closed.
Yeah, yeah.
But I I will say I always thought Gambit was pretty cool.
Oh,
Always
he had style.
Yeah,
So much style.
always dug the Cajun accent too, and I really did like the whole Rogue and Gambit love story. It just sucked that they really wanted it to work, and it took forever, kind of like thing, and their relationship was always kind of like star-crossed lovers. I guess that's the best way you could say it. It was kind of
Yeah.
tragic, but I really liked their relationship, and I did really enjoy Channing
Channing
Tatum's.
Tatum. Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed him in the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Granted, I know they recently said for the new Avengers movie, he's toning down the accent so people can understand him. I hope they don't get rid of it completely. Like apparently Halle Berry forgot in the third X-Men movie that, you know, she
She
had
was
an
supposed to be
accent.
African. Yeah.
So, I guess she was just in America too long, you know. You know all about that. You pretty much lost your,
Yeah.
European Welsh accent there. It still shows sometimes when certain words that you say, but I'm not complaining. We love you, Chris.
Ah, lies.
Yeah, we love the dragon. But do you have anybody else from Marvel you wanna?
I'm not gonna throw too many. I mean, I could dig deep. I love Iron Man in concept.
Yeah,
I mean, he is the Batman of the Marvel universe.
yeah.
That there's many others, but I don't want to get too deep into those. We'll be
Who
here
would win,
forever.
Iron Man or Batman?
Well, Iron
Wait.
Man. It's hands down.
All right. Well, that's another conversation for the comments, folks. Who would win? But for my final mention here, because you said Deadpool, he's kind of like Uh, I want to.
Oh, you're going Venom, aren't you?
Yes, he's very anti-hero,
Eddie
but
Brock.
can he really
Yeah.
be a superhero? Because he's not technically a supervillain. I mean,
Eddie Brock at heart is not. I mean, it depends. If you are going with Venom as the symbiote, I would say not so much.
questionable.
He's more
Yeah,
villain than anything. He's toned back by the humanity that
yeah,
hosts him.
yeah. Because
Um,
Eddie Brock necessarily wasn't
he
an
was
evil
never
person.
really evil. I
He
mean,
was just
he was angry at the world, but he was a war photographer for crying out loud.
yeah. He just was upset that people kept stepping on his toes, and he's trying to get ahead in life, and Peter
Yeah.
Parker won't let him. But, yeah, Venom, Eddie Brock, that is my third and final Marvel favorite character, superhero. And I have a few other honorable mentions for other questionable superheroes. I want to go straight into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because questionably, what makes a superhero are Ninja Turtles even superheroes because they're mutants, so technically X-Men are mutants, they're superheroes. So when the
Unless you
Ninja
go by the
Turtles,
comics,
the mutagen that made them, and they're technically even a parody on Daredevil, which is Daredevil even really a superhero?
right? Just some blind
Uh,
dude.
a blind dude that has his senses heightened because the same mutagen or whatever toxins that hit the turtles messed up his eyes, and now all his other senses are heightened. I don't know, but Ninja Turtles is another one for me. And then another superhero, which is non-Marvel or DC, would be Invincible. Recently, the show blew up, and it became one of my favorite superhero shows of all time because of
Yeah,
that.
I mean, for me in Image Comics, there aren't too many. Obviously, um, I love what they did with Invincible, but to take away someone outside of Invincible, obviously Spawn is great, but again, he's up there with the anti-hero.
Yeah.
Um, well, I guess we actually discussed this comic in our last podcast, and I guess I could lean this way with Wesley Gibson from Wanted, because he
Oh,
was a normal, mediocre guy, living out his life, finds out his dad was the world's greatest supervillain, joins the supervillain team, the fraternity, only to absolutely destroy them from the inside after he finds out the secret and in a sense becomes a hero. I mean, he wipes out the greatest supervillain team on the planet.
one
Yeah.
curved bullet at a time.
Yeah, one curved bullet at a time. As insane as it is, it looks really cool. And that was a Mark Miller work where
Yeah.
he decided to go solo, go indie, and he did quite a lot of great works. But that was one of his first solo um, outings, and it did really well. I mean, it earned itself a movie, so
Yeah.
that's something.
I mean, Mark Millar, he does a lot of good stuff. Like the one thing I liked about Kick Ass, which was Icon, which was like a off brand of Marvel, I believe. But the one thing I liked about Kick Ass, it was like the rated R version of Spider Man, the best way I could put it, because they gave him
Yeah,
like the same the same kind of issues. I mean, if you even watch the
Teenager trying to
yeah,
get through high school, dealing with it. Yeah, and, I almost wanna say, didn't he mention those kind of superheroes in his own comic?
I don't
You
know
know,
about much about the comic, but I know the movie, they made the references to, like, Spider-Man and stuff,
Wolverine and
like
when he
yeah.
had the steel plating and yeah,
Yeah. So, that was fun. It was a shame that the second movie didn't do as well. I feel like if they would've kept the same director, it probably would have had a better feel, and I also think that they should have added the deleted scene with, Big Daddy, Nicolas Cage character back into it in the graveyard. I think that would've been cool to just kinda have that scene. It wouldn't have done much for the movie, but it would've been cool to just have that little connective tissue because
right.
Nicolas Cage did a great job in that first movie, very Adam West
Honestly, one of
campy.
his best performances, really.
Yeah, she just wanted a butterfly knife, and
Yeah.
Chloe Moretz, she did a good job for being a child actor in that. She kicked ass.
Yeah, no, really.
I mean, there's still talks with there being like a third film on Netflix, which it's been so long. As much as I would like to have them continue with the whole cast, if they're gonna do it, I suggest just go ahead and reboot it, make it a like 8 episode, series. You know,
Yeah, sure.
have fun with it. Be rated R. Go balls to the wall with it. But, that's pretty much all the heroes that I wanted to touch on there, and, I mean, even in that aspect, saying what I was saying earlier, Kick-Ass, technically, he's not even a superhero. He has no superpowers.
Yeah, he just doesn't feel pain and he has a little metal in him.
Yep. I mean, the metal detectors must go nuts, but, I mean, here's another question to wrap this up, like, what can be classified as a superhero, really? We said before, who is a superhero? Now, some other people that I wanted to mention in this whole thing is like, is Goku a superhero? Yes, he's a manga character, but, you
Right? Yeah.
brought up
No,
I
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, so with that very specific, because I mean, even in both descriptions, neither of them mention it even having to be a comic book.
yeah,
You know, there are plenty of superhero movies that just derive as a movie or come from a book, not necessarily a comic. Not everything is
yeah,
comic related. So, yeah, I mean, really, it's so broad that you could literally just go through TV shows, movies, and just start picking them out. Oh, well, yep, technically, Goku is a superhero. I mean, while he's not in the movie, they did just release Superhero, the Dragon Ball Super
yeah,
superhero.
superhero, yeah,
His son very much is exactly
yeah,
him,
the Great
and
Saiyaman.
yeah, the Great
He is
Saiyaman. He is a
he is a
superhero.
superhero, yeah,
Yeah, but even with these classifications, I mean, you'd have to count Doctor Who as a superhero for crying out loud.
interesting.
It's so broad, which maybe that's exactly what uh Stan Lee was trying to do and say, it's so because yeah, again, there are real life heroes, right? That's
Yeah,
it's all about someone to look up to, someone to do the right things.
yeah,
Whether it be your dad or firemen for little kids, they always have that kind of connection. And really, all it is just about someone who's doing something different, someone who's doing something good. And in the general media, there is so much to pick out from. We can literally talk about it for weeks, months, and name millions.
that is true. I just wanted to put that out there because anime is, it's a different kind of topic, but they are
They still
superheroes
have
for
them.
yeah, they have 'em.
My Hero Academia is literally all about superheroes.
I've never watched it, but now I just might. But most importantly, Chris, you wanna know what? You're my superhero.
Oh yeah, well, I always knew that.
And you're all our superheroes, folks. We hope we are yours. So, on that note, Chris, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, if you guys don't know by now, we are Plot Hole Productions, and you've watched the Plotcast. You can find us on Spotify, Instagram, YouTube. Don't be afraid to like, comment, and subscribe. And once again, I'm your host, Nate Slater.
And I'm Chris Sandbrook, and we'll catch you in
In
the
the
void.
void.